Great. Could you turn that on? Good, great. If you could please show the jury where you were seated that night.
Sure. We were right about here in the theater.
Could you please tell the jury where you were seated and where Mr. Rodriguez-Torren was seated and where Mr. Barton was seated?
I was in between them, so I was about here. Ethan was on my right, and Stephen was on my left.
Please tell the jury about what happened in the movie theater that night.
I'd had a long day of work, and I was quite tired. And so, as the preview started, I started drifting to sleep. And I couldn't tell you how much time had passed, but I immediately woke up. It came to when I heard gunfire and saw flashes at the front of the theater.
And could you show the jury where you saw the flashes?
Right here.
That front upper right part of the theater, the screen's right up the front.
Yes.
Right, what do you remember after seeing that and hearing the gunfire?
I immediately knew that I was in a shooting and that there was a possibility of being shot. I knew there was the possibility of getting shot. And so, because we were in the middle of a row and the theater was packed, there was nowhere to go. And so, I remember putting my left arm on the seat in front of me as I began to get down behind the seats. And then I blacked out.
What's the next thing you remember after you blacked out that first time?
I remember coming to in face down behind the seats in a pool of sticky, thick liquid.
Could you hear anything in the theater at that point when you came to?
I could continue to hear gunfire, and I could hear screaming and running.
Could you see anything at that point in time?
No.
Please tell the jury about the next thing you remember.
I remember feeling my throat was burning and itchy, and I couldn't breathe through my nose, and I felt like I couldn't breathe at all. And so, even though I continued to hear the gunfire, I was trying to stand up because I couldn't breathe, and I thought that would help me. But Ethan realized what I was trying to do and climbed on top of me to keep me down behind the seats. And I remember after stopping to fight with Ethan to get up, I remember thinking, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to stand up while there's gunfire going on. And then I blacked out again.
What's the next thing you remember after you came to the second time?
The theater was quiet, and Ethan asked if I could get out of the theater, if I could crawl to the end of the row. And I said, I think I can. And so we army crawled to the end of the row.
Can you show the jury what you did, please?
This direction. So I was in front of Stephen, or excuse me, I was in front of Ethan in our army crawl. And when I got to the end of the row, I stood up, which was a little difficult for me. And I didn't realize there was an exit at the back of the theater, so I began walking down the steps of the theater. And that's when I saw a body in a seat at the end of the row, in one of these lower rows.
What did you do after you saw that body?
Well, the first thought that crossed my mind was there anything I could do to help that person? But the body was just sitting.
At some point in time, did you come to contact with Mr. Rodriguez Torrent again?
Yes. When he stood up at the end of the row, he called to me to come with him to exit out the back of the theater, because we didn't know how many people had been firing weapons. We didn't know where they were, and so we walked up the stairs to the back of the theater, which was hard for me to do, and I didn't know why at the time. And we walked out of the exit, and Ethan continued to help me down the stairs, out the back of the theater, into the lobby. And then we walked out of the theater, and I was increasingly having difficulty walking, and Ethan set me down on a median outside the theater and said, "Wait here, I'm gonna go find an ambulance." And at that point, I didn't know what was going on, and I saw a figure that frightened me, and so I thought, I just need to get out of here because I need to be there for my mother.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. At this time, Ms. Hogan, I don't have any further questions for you at this model. I'm going to ask that you retake the witness stand. Thank you.